signal that I haven't got to walk so far to the signal goes telephone. They said another 8 cars goes coming up to it. That went off for years because it was there. We ended up with about 24 carriages.
Then it's just 20-foot paper, Vernon, Lounge, back to mainline, probably.
Yeah. So, that's them on the day they released the tickets, also 3 hours on there, so. Yeah, it's good. I've purchased it myself all the way from Hastings. Oh, good. So I didn't get off from these 2 lads got on there. really remember these as I believe in 2001 or 2002, they were sort of doing it, and they charged one of these, and I had it from my chap last
Thank you very much. No sugar.
Yeah, no. Okay, that's what
There are stacks left of powers up and down for possibly machines.
Okay.
When is Chelsea going to get their units? That was the Russian, yeah, that was Russian servers. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure.
That might be when Matt was up on the drawing the other day, there was 3 different round tours going through. 2 for the rugby and cardiff, 1 for something else.
It's quite fun when you cycle back to where you want to see it. Train, rise up again.
Past the 267, they were on the down the
That's lost. Yeah.
And a lot of people would try to jump off.
It was just very difficult.
In fact, I did it once before and that and stopped and we got off.
Quickly, and also they had places that didn't understand our system very well. And you know, one of them's been off at the time. So it took me a little while, and I didn't want to be too hostile. I wanted to give them a chance to say, but in the end, I didn't give them too much. Cheers, Gary. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
station, yeah.
Bedford service.
Very clean.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got an Hustler? It's green.
Well, from Northwestern, that's correct, yeah. Green and silver.
Presuming if they do, they'll rebuild the old Bedford St John's station, close the current single platform.
They will do, yeah.
I haven't looked.
I've got your favourite trick.
You know, can't stop thinking about it. You're looking at the back side. Yeah, at the train side.
Now we're on a charter train.
I've got to hold this up.
Yeah, we're going to front of that.
It's an old vintage diesel train. It's going back to.
Maybe also that.
Yeah, I'm just done a short ride on it.
Yeah,
Down from Bicester to Milton Keynes and back.
File anything. No one's got a site. If anyone's struggling, there's food pastels. I did, some right now. Yeah.
So in there, just go sign it.
Thanks. That'll pleasure this exercise. 16 up, you know, this bus around there. Something mentions the law. Oh, you are sharing them? No, it's exactly like that. So, oh, my mate used to this. Now, that's time for a break. 2 days. Yeah, it is. That was why I moved back into the family home. She has to move out of the family home. It's a full-time care.
Right.
And it's paid for the full-time care.
That's right. We're going to completely.
Yeah.
We're going to end up getting to 120.
Yeah.
You know.
But living to that age, we're not going to be able to
Would be
wipe our own
just-
box with it. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's definitely about quality of life.
Yeah. We're fine with it. Let's settle it next.
So you're going in the e-rig That's what I'm trying to blame you to be the oldest, you know, from when I was. Come on, jockey. Come on, hurry up, come on. we all need the loo.
shortly before that, Royal Magazine had come out, so there's a lesson from a Nigel Collins about plus 40 and plus 4 Preservation Society. So we went around his house, takes statements, he walks in, looks around, and there's a woman plus 40 on the mountain place, you know, and takes a statement. It's the young Nigel Collins, look at the city, yes, how'd you know that?
Safety brief a couple of weeks ago, and it goes through these presentation slides about fatigue and this, that, and the other. And it literally says, bullet point 1 says, sleeping 20 to 30 minutes makes you more tired through the course of the shift. And then the very next bullet point was, practice regular naps whenever you can.